It's October 25th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with Russian President Vladimir Putin's failure to deny the presence of North Korean forces in Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin makes no denial about claims that North Korean forces are in Russia to fight, while a group of North Korean soldiers have been seen in Russia's Kursk region. And leaders of South Korea and Poland also acknowledged the security threats stemming from North Korea's deployment, as the two sides vowed to boost arms exchanges during their summit in Seoul on Thursday. Over in the Middle East, Gaza ceasefire talks will resume in the coming days in Doha, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says after meeting with Qatar's Prime Minister. Russian President Vladimir Putin has sidestepped claims that North Korean forces are in Russia to fight. This comes as Ukraine says North Korean soldiers have been spotted in Russia's Kursk region. Our An Sung-jian reports.
Russia has mentioned North Korean troops in the country for the first time. According to Russia's state-owned news agency TASS, when asked about satellite imagery of North Korean troops during a press conference at the BRICS summit on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that images are a serious thing. If there are images, then they reflect something.
We never doubted the leadership of North Korea treats our agreement seriously. But what we will do and how we will do it is up to us. We are in touch with our North Korean friends, and we will see how this process develops.
On the same day, Russian lawmakers ratified a mutual military assistance pact with North Korea. The lower house of the Russian parliament voted to endorse the comprehensive strategic partnership treaty that Putin had signed with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during a visit to Pyongyang in June. The upper house is expected to follow soon. The pact obliges Russia and North Korea to immediately provide military assistance using all means if either is attacked. Ukraine's military intelligence service announced on Thursday local time that a group of North Korean soldiers were spotted on the 23rd in Russia's Kursk region, an area bordering Ukraine. The Ukrainian military also said that there are about 12,000 North Korean troops in Russia, including 3 generals and 500 officers that are training at 5 military bases in eastern Russia. The U.S. Defense Department said on Thursday that regarding the deployments of troops to battlefields such as Kursk, there was nothing to disclose, adding that they will have to wait and see what exactly they will do. The spokesperson also noted that if North Korea participates in combat, it will become a joint belligerent, and it is a very serious issue that causes instability in the Indo-Pacific region. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
So Putin warns his country's military cooperation with North Korea is none of any other country's business. Does this mean Putin is admitting the presence of North Korean forces in Russia? Let's turn to Dr. Bruce Klinger for more. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Klinger, would you say Putin has pretty much acknowledged that there is truth in the speculation? What's your take on it?
Well, it wasn't so much a acceptance of the accusations, but a non-denial. But he clearly laid out the what his justification would be, that NATO is involved in attacking Russian forces in Ukraine, and therefore it would be a self-defense measure which would be applicable under the North Korean-Russian strategic partnership. So not necessarily an acceptance of the intelligence reports, but clearly not denying them. So it shows that the North Korean-Russian relationship continues to strengthen, and that North Korean forces are in the region, but we don't know to what extent the numbers are or what their role will be.
Well, some of those soldiers are already being spotted in Russia's Kursk region, reports say. Now, how likely is it that those soldiers will actually serve in the war immediately or in the near future? I mean, how imminent do you think?
Well, there have already been some North Korean casualties. Perhaps they were engineers or military equipment advisors, and the report of 18 tried to desert. So we know that the flow of North Korean forces is going westward, that a large number are already in Russia, although still in the rear area for training.
Right.
And as they complete their training, they will be moving west into the Kursk and the Ukraine regions.
Well, then ultimately, what is it there for North Korea to really gain from dispatching its soldiers then? I mean, is it just backing its friend Russia?
Well, we think that already with the massive amounts of artillery ammunition and dozens of short-range ballistic missiles that North Korea has provided Russia during the past year or so, that North Korea received financial benefits, that likely food and fuel deliveries. And then most worrisome is what kind of military technology that Russia may be providing to North Korea in return. Some experts have thought it might be sort of the crown jewels of military technology of nuclear warhead design or ICBM or reentry vehicle design. Others think it may be more conventional force improvements or conventional force production assistance or technology improvement. Any of that is very worrisome because it increases the threat to South Korea and Japan as well as U.S. forces in the region. And the concern is now that North Korea is providing troops, the price that Putin is willing to pay may be higher in terms of more sensitive military technology.
Well, Washington also took its time to confirm that thousands of those soldiers are in Russia receiving training. But why is it leaving some uncertainties over these soldiers' actual participation in the war against Ukraine then?
Well, it's easier using intelligence means to identify capabilities or the presence of forces. Intentions are much more difficult. You can only get that really from human intelligence or intercepted signals intelligence. So Washington is likely being cautious in what would be a major accusation. And so it's probably tasking its own intelligence sources to confirm those that South Korea already base their assessments on. Also, it's a very big policy step, so I think Washington would want to be very sure of the intelligence reporting before it made a major policy decision.
Well, Dr. Klinger, then what steps or actions do you think Washington will take if those soldiers do decide to serve in the war?
I think it would be a continuation of the U.S. support of Ukraine during the past 2 years. So there can be additional sanctions imposed on Russia, North Korea, or any other facilitators of military assistance to Russia. It may trigger additional assistance by not only the United States, but European nations. And they'll try to increase the flow of ammunition as well as weapons to Ukraine. It will also put more pressure on Seoul to be more directly involved by providing lethal aid directly to Ukraine. So far, South Korea has limited it to humanitarian assistance or non-lethal aid, or indirectly providing assistance to the United States and Poland to backfill their contributions to the Ukraine effort.
Well, what would it mean for Seoul to actually provide lethal weapons to Ukraine? Does that mean, that means how seriously South Korea is taking the situation, right?
Right. And so far, the Yoon administration, there were some initial indications that they might provide direct lethal aid, as the Yoon administration has considered several times during the past 2 years. More recent reporting, though, seems to indicate they will adopt a more limited, phased approach where they may send military personnel to serve as interpreters or interrogators, and that in the future they may decide to send defensive weapons such as surface-to-air missiles, and only if North Korea and Russia cross some undefined line would then South Korea provide direct assistance, either artillery ammunition or weapon systems such as artillery howitzers or other systems.
Well, NATO has also expressed grave concerns, but it's also yet to provide details of what action it could take in response to the deployment. Then why so cautious? Is it because the same reason for the U.S.?
I think they're waiting on intelligence sources. They want to make sure that they get it right. Even though it seems so far the evidence is fairly compelling, I think they want to make sure that they have very strong intelligence sources and confirmation. Also, I think behind the scenes, we're likely having a lot of policy coordination. How far would all of the nations go in responding to this? Do they just provide more military assistance to Ukraine? Do they try to do some action at the UN, but that would be blocked by Russia and China? Or do they take additional measures against North Korea, either those forces that are transiting to Europe, or additional sanctions against North Korea, or assistance to Asian allies to ensure that any kind of military upgrades that North Korea receives have corresponding defensive measures put in place.
Alrighty, Dr. Klinger, thank you so much for your insights this morning. You enjoy your evening there.
Thank you very much.
And President Yoon Suk-yeol called North Korea's deployment in Russia a threat to the security framework of the broader international community as he hosted the Polish president at his office on Thursday. Our top office correspondent Kim Do-yeon reports.
Perhaps a timely summit. President Yoon Suk-yeol on Thursday hosted the president of a key partner and a border country to Ukraine, Poland's Andrzej Duda, for a state visit. President Yoon Suk-yeol took the chance to deliver another statement regarding North Korea's recent deployment of troops to support Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
특히 유엔 헌장과 안보리 결의를 정면으로 위반하는 북한의 러시아 파병은 한반도와 유럽을 넘어 전 세계의 안보를 위협하는 도발이라는 점에 의견을 같이 했습니다.
President Duda took the chance to show appreciation for South Korea's support of Ukraine so far.
We also discussed security issues with President Yoon today, and I expressed my gratitude for South Korea's consistent political and humanitarian support for Ukraine. South Korea has maintained a clear stance against Russia's invasion since the beginning of the war.
President Yoon's support for Ukraine is in fact tied closely with Poland. When he was in Poland for a visit in July last year, he made a surprise trip to Ukraine. The preparation and the visit itself were supported by Poland. In the meantime, Duda's visit completed the two leaders' exchanges of the highest level of diplomatic welcomes, and this was the first state visit by a Polish leader to South Korea in 11 years. And as many expected, one key area of cooperation was the defense industry. The two leaders discussed further strengthening and expanding exchanges in this area. In 2022, Poland signed procurement deals worth 17 trillion won, or $12.3 billion to buy K-2 tanks, K-9 self-propelled howitzers, Fa-50 light attack aircraft, and Chunmoo multiple rocket launchers for South Korea to bolster its defenses in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine war. The two leaders discussed a deal for a second round of K-2 procurement worth $7 billion within this year. And it doesn't stop in the defense industry.
양국은 지금까지 쌓아온 신뢰를 바탕으로 국방 방산 당국 간 정례 협의체를 가동하고 상호 안보와 국방에 기여할 수 있는 협력 방안을 함께 모색해 나갈 것입니다.
Other areas for more cooperation included clean energy and nuclear power, as well as advanced technology. The two leaders also pledged more cultural and civilian exchanges with increased direct flights from the two countries. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Egyptian and Hamas officials met in Cairo on Thursday, hopeful of reviving the long-stalled Gaza ceasefire talks. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is also in Qatar, where he raised hopes for a ceasefire deal. Lee Seung-ja has more.
Despite months of stalled negotiations between Israel and Hamas, a breakthrough in talks may be in the works. According to Egypt's state-run Al Qahira News TV on Thursday, an Egyptian security delegation is hosting a delegation of Hamas leaders in Cairo in the hope of resuming ceasefire negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed Egypt's push for a deal that would release hostages being held in Gaza. Egypt and Qatar had been mediating between Hamas and Israel before ceasefire talks broke down in August. In another push to revive the talks, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Qatar on Thursday. There, he called on Hamas to agree to a deal that would finally end the fighting in Gaza.
And of course, we're working intensely to make sure that this conflict doesn't spread. We don't have wider wars. And all of this, perhaps, will focus Hamas on the imperative of concluding a deal. If it cares about the people of Gaza, then it will engage, and it will conclude some kind of agreement.
Blinken also stressed that a ceasefire deal would ensure the withdrawal of Israeli forces in Gaza so that the Palestinians can rebuild their lives and their future without Hamas. Despite the prospect of a resumption of ceasefire talks, an Israeli airstrike on a school building in Gaza on Thursday killed at least 17 people. According to Reuters, the Israeli strike targeted the Al-Shuhada school in the Nushirat refugee camp, while the Hamas-run government media office said the school was being used as a shelter for displaced Palestinians. Israel says it was a Hamas command center. 9 children were among those killed, including an 11-month-old baby. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Firefighters extinguished a fire at a U.S. military facility in the southeastern port city of Busan on Friday morning after 13 hours of fighting the blaze. The fire broke out at a U.S. Forces Korea warehouse at 6:31 p.m. on Thursday evening, with more than 160 personnel and 51 fire equipment mobilized to extinguish the fire. The fire response level, which had been raised to level 2, was lowered to level 1 at just past 1 a.m. on Friday. The warehouse was reportedly undergoing construction work inside the building, and no casualties have been reported. More and more young Koreans are moving to the countryside to farm, which not only allows them to discover a new passion, but also saves vanishing rural villages. And it's not just farms experiencing this new wave, so are fishing communities. Our Lee Soo-jin reports.
Once vibrant and full of life, fishing villages along the coast of South Korea are slowly dying. But Chung Hee-chang, who is in his 30s, moved just 3 months ago to one such village on Yongyu-do Island in the port city of Incheon.
I worked as an IT programmer for 6 or 7 years, but my passion for fishing led me to switch careers.
He meets with a local fisherman almost daily to learn the skills needed for his new job. Chung previously took an education program by the local government, which is encouraging more young people to enter the fisheries industry through hands-on experiences and guest lectures from successful fishermen.
It looks like I can earn more than I did when I worked in an office. You can also take breaks whenever you want.
Ha Do-gun, who also became a fisherman in his 30s after over a decade in the delivery business, mentioned the same perks after 4 years in the profession.
The best part is that if you go out and work more, you'll also make more.
He not only now has 6 deckhands under him, but is also a proud owner of a fishing boat worth around 300 million won, or $220,000 thanks to support funds from the local government. And his success, he says, was only possible due to training from seasoned fishermen like Cha Jong-up, who has over 20 years of experience. But while some locals like Cha are eager to pass down their knowledge, others are less open to newcomers.
Everyone's old. The average age is over 60. I believe we need new fishermen, but there's limited space for casting nets, so locals should share it with newcomers.
In 2023, 48% of the fishing village population were aged 65 and older, more than twice the national average, underscoring the need for younger people. But while financial support and training are crucial, he stressed that the government must also bridge the generational gap through measures that include mediating how fishing spots are used. With a steady influx of younger individuals in the future as well, more generational transitions like this are expected to occur in fishing villages across the nation, revitalizing and preserving the economy and social fabric of coastal regions. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Now, let's take a look at the stories from around the world with our Kim Xiang. Good morning, Xiang.
Good morning, Dami.
So let's start in Türkiye and reports of retaliation following Wednesday's militant attack on the country's largest aerospace manufacturing company. What's the latest?
That's right, Dami. Following Wednesday's deadly attack on a state-run aerospace defense firm, Türkiye launched airstrikes on the Turkish-held parts of Syria and Iraq later the same day. Now, according to its intelligence agency, Türkiye on Thursday continued airstrikes on the Kurdistan Workers' Party targets in Syria and Iraq, a separatist militant organization that the Turkish government blamed for Wednesday's attack in Ankara that killed 5 and injured 22. Turkish Defense Minister Yasar Güler said 29 PKK targets had been hit in northern Iraq and 18 in northern Syria, which the country's national intelligence organization said were the militant group's strategic locations. The Syrian Democratic Forces said at least 12 people were killed, including 2 children, while 25 others were injured. The SDF was a key ally to the US in the war against ISIS in the region. Now, as yet, no group has claimed responsibility for Wednesday's attack, although Turkish authorities identified the 2 assailants who were killed at the scene as members of the PKK. Now, moving over to the Philippines, Tropical Storm Trami wreaked havoc as it made landfall on the northeastern coast of the country on Thursday, with at least 26 people killed and forcing some 150,000 others to evacuate. The storm made landfall on Thursday on the main island of Luzon, the country's most populated island, where it dumped torrential rain, causing widespread flooding and landslides. Now, the storm, locally known as Christine, brought maximum sustained wind speeds of 95 kilometers per hour as it moved westward through the region of Cordillera and toward the South China Sea. Now, it moved off the country's northwest coast early on Friday, but remains on course toward China's Hainan and Vietnam's Da Nang, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. Aerospace company Boeing has failed to reach a deal with its striking workers after the workers' union rejected Boeing's 35% pay rise offer. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union on Wednesday said that 64% of its members voted to reject the company's latest offer, which promised a 35% raise over a period of 4 years. Now, over 30,000 Boeing workers are taking part in the strike, which began on September 13th. Boeing's new CEO, Kelly Ortberg, said on Wednesday that the company is saddled with too much debt as losses surged to some $6 billion and that the firm was at a crossroads as production remains halted. Scientists say they have developed an artificial intelligence algorithm capable of decoding sounds made by pigs to interpret their emotions and help farmers improve their welfare. According to one of the study's leaders, behavior biologist Elodie Mandel-Briefer from the University of Copenhagen, the AI algorithm can alert farmers to positive and negative emotions in pigs. Now, scientists from Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, France, Norway and the Czech Republic used thousands of recorded pig sounds in different conditions to code the algorithm.
So basically all the analysis.
This autumn's foliage season has not yet come, getting later than usual year. Many of the southern provinces have not even seen leaves changing colors yet, and that's due to the long, intense summer we had this year. And autumn has been warmer than normal as well. And even today, after a chilly and even a freezing start for Daegwallyeong this morning, highs will climb fast to 20s in most parts of Korea, hovering way above normal under sunny skies. Meanwhile, there is rain in the forecast for Jeju and parts of southern provinces this weekend, so those heading to the south should keep an umbrella handy, please. Now, back to today's forecast. Afternoon highs will be 1 to 5 degrees higher than yesterday, topping out at 23 degrees here in Seoul and Daejeon. Busan will top out at 24 degrees. Sunny skies in store nationwide with decent air quality all day today. Then we'll wrap up the month on a warmer note under cloudier skies. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for our Friday edition of A New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next Monday at the same time, 10 a.m. Korea time.
Future of high-tech manufacturing industry. This is GFE's Hadong District. We want to connect you to a future of possibilities with our own resources and specificity by connecting spaces to save time and cost. Connecting excellent infrastructure with technology to drive innovation. Opening possibilities by connecting technology with businesses. We will expand our horizons by connecting with the world. There is land that leads to a sustainable future. Taesong Industrial Complex, a cutting-edge material parts complex, is the best strategic industrial complex in the southern coast region of Korea. Karsaman Shipbuilding Industrial Complex, a shipbuilding and marine industrial plant cluster. It is a global logistics and industrial hub with convenient transportation and high-level accessibility, making it optimal for business investment. Starting from possibilities to becoming a global business hub, from an innovative industrial city to the center of high-tech future industries. It's the beginning for the future. Linking together, making tomorrow. GFE's Hadong District.
new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We're News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Friday, October 25th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Choi Ji-hee. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. And Ki Kim.
TGIF Friday.
TGIF. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're going to head straight to our main discussion of the day. It's Friday, which means it's time to explore topics and issues that resonate with young people around the world here on NewsGen. And today, we're going to focus on a sport that's become incredibly popular among our generation, and that is running. Now, here in Korea, if you visit public spaces like the Hangang River parks in the evening, you'll easily spot people running along the riverside. And most of them are actually part of our generation, right?
For sure. So many are running around Hangang River still, dressed like me. This is why reason
you
I
have the perfect outfit today.
TPO. And you see some people riding a bicycle, playing basketball along the Hangang River Park's courts, and some couples dating, of course, but many of them are running, actually.
Right. So is this something you're also been seeing, Ji?
Oh, yeah. No matter which park you visit, you'll always see groups of runners or individuals jogging alone. And most of these runners are relatively young, typically in their 20s or 30s, while older adults, they tend to be the ones walking more often, usually dressed in hiking gear, because that's their go-to clothes in Korea, right? Typically, yes.
Right. So we're definitely seeing more young people running these days, especially in public spaces like the Hangang River parks. Now, what's really interesting is that running is far from a new sport. It doesn't require you fancy new equipment. All you need are comfortable clothes and shoes. So I want to also ask our panelists, when did running start gaining traction so much among our generation?
Well, the running craze can be analyzed as a result of a combination of different things such as health, social connection, and technological development. And COVID-19 pandemic played a big part of it. So people stayed home all day and no connection to the people, disconnected from the world. So running wouldn't bother anyone. Easy sport, no extra gear needed, a lot easier to join than any other sports. And many young generations are into showing off their style. And there are thousands of brands, tons of different styles they can choose from. At Shin's Ticket department stores, sales of sports shoes genre grew 35.5% compared to last month. According to local department stores in Changwon branch, sales of sports products rose about 10% from January to September this year, and sales of running-related products increased 45% in the same period. And particularly if you look at sales from a month from mid-September, which is a perfect weather for running, running-related sales increased by more than 70% compared to the same period last year. And according to Trend, many brands are now launching running-related event or campaign, new applications, gears to prevent any injuries. MZ utilize their smart items such as smartwatch to use the application to record their workout and running time status, which is another fun, and they upload them on their social media accounts. And when you look up to hashtag Runstagram, you get over 1 million posts, running crew 600,000 posts. So some of the brands are even releasing running shoes that's dedicated to running with their latest technology for your comfortable, enjoyable running experience.
So just by looking at the different type of industries, we can see how much of a mainstream culture that running has become nowadays. And Ji, I also want to ask you, do we have any stats or data that kind of show how popular running has become?
Yes, we do. So like he mentioned, I think during the pandemic, outdoor activities in general gained a lot more popularity. So let's take a look at the screen to find out more about this trend. As you can see from the graph, indoor and outdoor workout experience among people in the country has constantly been rising for the past few years. However, running in particular has seen a significant jump. More than 30% of the 5,200 respondents of this survey said they were running, which is higher than the figures for home training or working out in the gym. And I believe the surge in popularity of running, especially among young people, can be attributed to its perception as being hip and trendy, and it has a low entry barrier compared to other sports that require specialized equipment and techniques, which often tend to be more expensive as well, making it a lot more accessible for anyone with just good health. And running also doesn't have spatial limitations, so you can, of course, run in the parks, but also near your neighborhood or just on the streets. And moreover, following the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a heightened interest in health overall, and running has emerged as one of the quickest and easiest ways to stay fit. And also, running crews provide a more relaxed social environment. Unlike other gatherings or social activities, there's less pressure and fewer responsibilities for individuals. So you simply run at your own pace, and you don't really need to be talking with others while you're engaging in running.
So it's a quick and easy way to get exercise. It's really accessible, and also you can meet new people.
Yeah.
Right. So we've taken a look at some of the reasons why more young people are especially being drawn into this sport, running. Now, what's even more fascinating is how many young people now choose to run in groups, even though running is traditionally an individual sport. So why do you think we're seeing a boom in running crews or clubs?
You know, when you look at a lot of movies or drama scenes, and there's a bunch of guys working at the gym, and then they're like, push it, push it, push it, you know, and they don't know it. They don't even know each other. It's just like that. When you work out or run together, you achieve more. You run together, and then you run longer miles or longer hours. Say you run for 5 kilometers, and then for the first time alone, it could be tough, and you might want to give up in the middle, for example, at a 3.5 kilometers spot.
Right.
But when you're working together and then we're running with the crew, they can cheer you up.
Yeah, motivate you.
They usually run, let's go, what's up, a little more, you know, and then finally touch down on that 5-kilometer finish line. And Nike is one of the most representative brands that when they encourage running. So they have the most famous running event called Nike Run, held every now and then in all over Korea. The most recent one was held in Jeju Island. And a lot of famous figures joining, including celebrities. And many running crews join them to enjoy and compete. And also there were challenges a couple of years ago where they run around the neighborhood, and then this kind of smart devices track down your record, right? And then with a GPS. So your track is sort of becomes a drawing. So they draw like animals, simple animals like rabbit, for example. They draw a car. So which has, that adds more fun to it.
So doing it together kind of makes exercise feel more fun, like a game, and also more like a challenge.
Exactly.
And let's kind of hear from a person who is actually part of the running crew herself. Jihi, you're the only one among us who are doing a running club. So I want to ask you, how is running together different from working out by yourself?
Okay, well, this is a funny story. I mean, by the way, I don't look like I'm in the running crew. It looks like he is actually in a running crew with all his outfit.
Right.
But it's funny because I never thought of joining a running crew until I met this leader of this one running crew during a professional photo shoot. We were chatting, and when the photographer found out that I enjoyed sports and exercising, he mentioned that he led a crew that ran together in the Yangjacheon area every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. So people would join on the days that work for them. And I haven't been many times, but running in a group is more enjoyable than exercising alone. Even though I do enjoy working out, it can get boring, and running alone can feel a lot more tiring and tedious if you do it alone. But with others, running 4 to 5 kilometers doesn't seem too long.
Yeah, because you're doing it together.
Exactly, you're doing it together, and it just motivates you and keeps you going. So we run in a line to make sure that we don't cause inconvenience or block the ways of others. And all you need are your running shoes and outfit like what Ki is wearing right now. And afterward, we would gather at a convenience store or a small private hair salon run by one of the members. We have different members from with different jobs as well, which is also quite interesting. So we have some tea and chat together for a while, and we also have a group chatting room where we share information about all the marathons that are happening here in the country. And I also recently participated in one of Lulu Fruit's well-being campaigns, and I learned from their annual well-being report that working out with others is a lot more beneficial, both psychologically and physically.
So it's actually more effective.
It is, like scientifically. And their campaign slogan was "Together We Grow," which is very inspiring. And Amoti, the winner of season 2 of Physical 100, was one of their ambassadors. And he also does CrossFit, which is a group sport, right? And he said that it helped him recover faster from an injury because of all the motivation he got from his workout crews.
So not only do you get to exercise more effectively, it's a great platform for you to meet and socialize with new people. Now, I think that this naturally leads to our next question. Based on your experience and what you've seen around you, is there anything you found unique about Korea's running culture? I mean, running crew could be one.
I mean, I was also once in a running crew myself. I just couldn't follow their pace and their weight.
Are these clothes from that
That's
era?
exactly why I bought. Didn't last long, unfortunately. But in Korea, we have this tongue culture, right? Interconnection. And so the running crew just don't stay as just running partners. They sort of become friends and family. After they spend some time together and running, sometimes it becomes social gathering. So they make a group chat to talk about all sorts of different things in their lives. They even hang out together outside of running. And it's now a new way of meeting new people.
Right.
So it became a new platform and forming a new social group.
Right, a great way to meet new people. What do you think is unique about Korea's running culture, T?
Well, I heard that many of these crews serve as a platform for meeting potential dating partners as well.
Is that based on your personal experience?
No, it's not. I only, to be honest, didn't even go there like 10 times yet. I'm a newbie to the crew. Anyway, so since participants share a common interest in running, they can naturally enjoy the experience together and get to know each other in a more natural setting, right? And also, as Korean culture tends to be more reserved, this is just my personal observation, but people generally wear less revealing clothing as well compared to like the parks. When you go outside to other countries, you see people running with lighter gear, but here in Korea, it's more reserved, I think.
Oh, I see. Some very interesting points made by our panelists. So we're now going to take a moment to see how popular running is in other parts of the world outside of Korea. After this break, we'll be joined by a millennial from Switzerland who is currently part of a running club.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
So joining us today is Matthew Ambrose, a millennial from Switzerland. Matthew is currently part of a running club based in Seoul. Welcome, Matthew, to the show.
Hi, guys. Good to be here.
Good morning, Matthew. So our first question for you is running popular among young people in other countries you've lived in as well? We heard that you've also ran in Switzerland and South Africa, too.
Yeah, certainly. I actually started running back in South Africa when I was going to university over there, and we had a university running club that was really popular amongst my peers. It started off as just 3 of us, and then it just kind of was an upward spiral of getting more and more people involved. And then we actually had co-running events with other universities as well. And so after that, I went back to Switzerland for a period, wanted to continue running because I didn't really enjoy running myself all that much. And we actually managed to find a few crews there as well that actually didn't go running in the cities so much, but had more of a preference for running in the mountains. I mean, it's Switzerland, of course. Trail running was more of a thing over there. And that's what you will find, is that there are lots of different types of running. Even here in Korea, I have seen that there's more of the neighborhood running by the Han River, and then there are people who specifically go out for trail running, which is quite a bit more intensive.
Well, trail running in Switzerland, I can imagine how beautiful that would be as someone who's been there before too. Well, my second question to you is, you're currently participating in a running crew here in Korea as well, and I'm sure from what I heard, you've been there for quite a while. How has the experience been for you so far?
It was actually very interesting to join the Korean running crew because I felt very much isolated, and I was a solo runner for quite a while. And I actually happened to run across another running crew, and they all looked like they were having such a great time. So I searched them on Instagram, managed to find them, reached out to them, and they welcomed me with open arms. And I was like the only foreigner in that crew, but could speak some Korean, so they just accepted me, and it's been a blast. They have different paces for different styles of running. So you've got the 6 minutes per kilometer running crew. They're usually at the back, and you've got the quicker ones in the front. And the one at the 6 minutes is not the one I usually go to, but I think they're the most fun because they have a speaker and all of them are singing and dancing around while running. And it's the most fun thing I've ever seen.
Okay, well, I mean, you've been running solo for quite a long time, and you also participate in different sorts of running crews. So what's your take on running crews? Do you find it more effective running with others or enjoyable and running solo?
I enjoy both. It really does depend what my mood is that day and what my goals are for the week. If I feel like, I need to get a little bit more in, what I'll do is I'll actually run to the running group location. So the running crew I'm a part of is meeting every Sunday. It's called Sunday Seoul. And what they'll do is they'll have the 8 a.m. run every Sunday. And so they change the location every week. So sometimes they'll be in Yeouido, sometimes they'll be in Han River area by like the Jamwon side of things. And so if I'm not too far away, I'll actually run an additional 5 kilometers by myself and then join the running crew, do another 5 kilometers with them. And if I'm still feeling good, I might actually run back home or take the subway, depending on my condition at that time. But then what I would have done is I will have done both solo running, but also group running as well.
I see. It's great that you're enjoying your running experience, Matthew. All right, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right, so we mentioned a lot of good parts about running, how it's great for exercise, of course, you can meet new people. But like with any trend, there are always two sides of the story. With an increase in runners and also running clubs, we've been hearing some complaints. So what's causing this?
Well, it's good to see that, first of all, the younger generation is always creating this new trend, whether it be golf, now it's running. And it's wonderful to enjoy the benefits of running with others, but it's important to be considerate of those who are also exercising in public spaces together.
Right.
Parks are, of course, shared areas, and we all have a duty to maintain common etiquette. Avoid playing loud music from speakers or blocking the pathways of others, because these behaviors obviously can create inconveniences for others. And there have been reports of running crews causing disturbances, which can be seen as a growing social issue as well. So always remember to run together while being mindful of everyone around you.
Right, because most of these areas that these running crews run are public spaces, so they should always keep that in mind. What are your thoughts on this, Ki?
Well, as for sure, like Ji said, some of the running crews or some of the biking crews, they are bike riding crews. They yell at night, even in the residential area. Sometimes they block the roads for their crew to run. And, the running trend has become another social issue. And it's also became an issue among work as well. So one of my clients from my work is from big brand here. And they have this infra network application for their own security issue. And for the welfare of the employee, they have different features installed in their application, such as a carpool or their own version of used item exchange store. And one of them is running. So they made it like a game. So when they run, they give it points. For example, a mile for 10 points. And when they run together, then they get some extra points because it's a teamwork, right?
Right.
So with that points earned, you can get sort of, snacks from the company stores. And they have this like running game charts, so which team people like.
Oh,
for
it's
example,
like a competition.
Right, Team Eugene or Team Jihee, and who ran longer miles.
Who has
sort
more
of things.
points.
Right, but because of that, sometimes the team leaders give pressure to their team members to run even during the weekend and run together because you get extra points, right? So some companies, even at the government offices, under the aim to get healthy, and it's because it's trendy. Sometimes they encourage them running at work, and even during the weekend, just like back in the 80s and 90s, where the company leaders, they would call you during the weekend to come for the mountain climbing, which as another work burden. So that's something to think about.
Right, so it should never be forced or pushed.
Exactly.
All right, hope our discussion today helped you understand more about running fever among our generation. And that's all from us today, but NewsGen will be back next Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Choi Ji-hee.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And Ki Kim.
Thank you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And thank you everyone for watching. Happy Friday, and hope you have a lovely weekend. We are News Generation.